Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today is the No Nut November special. That's right, we're talking about the philosophy of masturbation today. So, I don't know. I just decided, since it's No Nut November, in the festivities of the season, we're gonna have a masturbation philosophy episode, which is a actually fairly relevant philosophy to talk about because it does make up a pretty large portion of many people's lives. So, and since ethics is what should you do with your life, I think masturbation is a fairly important topic to discuss. And what better time to discuss it than No Nut November, the time when nobody can masturbate. So, to begin with, what is the proper role of masturbation? I would say the proper role of masturbation would be to gain the very profound and good experience of sex without having another person involved. When you're unable to find another person to engage in that activity with you, like you can just go and do it yourself. It's like a very good way of having like sexual self-sufficiency is actually one thing that Ayn Rand said about it. So yeah, so I mean there's very positive aspects of masturbation, and I'd say depending on your mentality going into it, I'd say it can be a very beneficial and positive thing. And I think there's also some like health benefits too. I don't know. I don't research. I'm not a masturbation researcher, so I don't know too much about it, but yeah, so I just know its effects on me and yeah, that sort of stuff. So I mean, let's go on to what are some like bad motivations of masturbation or bad aspects that can come with it. So I think obviously there's some certain aspects of it where people, they almost get addicted to it. They get like where they just do it constantly all the time whenever they feel like somewhat bored or whenever they have free time. And I'd say that'd be a very negative thing because in that sense it gets in the way of your life. When this source of pleasure, you're using it as some escape from life, I'd say that is a very negative thing because it's almost in a sense evasion because you're not looking at the facts of reality in a sense so that you could just avoid it and gain whatever short-term pleasure you can at the moment, which is a very bad way to live your life. And then another way, I guess, would be just any sort of evasive type of masturbation would be a negative way. So if you're doing it because you feel lonely and you feel like you'll never gain this sort of pleasure in your life, that's a very bad motivation. It should, like, when you're done, you shouldn't feel like, oh, what the fuck did I just do? Oh, God. You should feel more like a sense of, like, joy or, like, a sense of happiness because you just had a positive experience, you know? So I think, although your response to it can also depend on what your view is of sex and masturbation, which I'll get into soon. But, yeah, so you don't want it to be an evasive type of masturbation where it's, like, a source of pleasure amongst your low self-esteem. You don't feel good ever. Or it's like, oh, I don't feel good ever, I can't get any sexual pleasure, but I can in this one sense, so I'm going to do it like this. And I think that's how some people view it, and that's a very negative view of masturbation. And then there's other ways to view sex that I think lead to some negative views on masturbation. The one obvious way would be the religious view of sex, the idea that sex is this pleasure of the body that is negative and should be condemned when it's caused by yourself. So like masturbation is completely immoral and a disgusting thing to do. That's a very, very negative view of masturbation that I actually used to have when I was a Catholic. I used to think I was like addicted, and then I would like try really hard to get over my addiction, and it was just stupid. It's straight up stupid. Like, it's just such a toxic view of sex, and it leads to such guilt and negative feelings regarding sex. So I'd say that is, yeah, you should not view sex in that way. And then another way would to view it as purely physical, which actually that's kind of what masturbation is. But if you use masturbation if you view masturbation in the same light as you do sex, which I don't know if anybody actually does that, but I don't know, it's a possibility. But yeah, I think that's a possibility. Just, yeah. So if you view masturbation the same as sex, just as a a source of pleasure, you're degrading sex in a sense by masturbating. It's the same thing as if you're going to engage in promiscuous sex. You're degrading sex. You're degrading your ability to feel sexual pleasure because what you're doing, you're having sex with whoever and or whoever you can, and it's essentially masturbation at that point, which masturbation is okay, but it's not sex. It doesn't have those same the same potential for spiritual values that sex does, and people who don't view sex as having the potential for spiritual values view it almost as the exact same as masturbation. Maybe not explicitly, but implicitly in their head. So yeah, and also for those of you who are wondering if jacking off should be considered a sport, that shit is definitely a sport. All right, thank you guys for watching. I think that's all I have to say for today, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.